I've been thinking quite a bit about this, and I'm gonna get some hate for it. But it's a fair question to ask. Does Worn & Wound design their watches for kids? Let's look at the evidence. Before we get to the main topic, let me say this. I'm a big fan of Worn & Wound. They put out a great event for watch enthusiasts. They focus on 3 cities, they invite micro brands from all over, and they invite watch enthusiasts to come for free to engage with the owners of the brand, to put their watches on their wrist. And remember, these are watches from boutique firms that can't get their watches into authorized dealers, or they're low production, so it's really a direct-to-consumer model. So you can get your hands on these watches, put them on your wrist, get a real feel for how they would be for everyday wearability. I've been to the Wind Up event twice in New York City, and it's been great. It's been a great experience. I should also say that I'm a big fan of the Adapt straps. I've got the single pass here. I think it's great. I even listened to some of the Worn & Wound podcasts. Let's talk about Worn & Wound's watches. Their in-house brand, Adapt, stands for All Day, Purpose, and Terrain. And when you go to the Wind Up shop, you go to the Adapt homepage, and you'll see this green banner at the top. It's not exactly the most sophisticated presentation of the brand logo. It's a bit cartoonish. And the little banner at the bottom that says All Day, Purpose, and Terrain, it looks like the crumpled piece of paper that falls out of a fortune cookie. When I first saw the Adapt watches, I liked them. They were colorful, their dial had a grid or graph paper, bright straps. I even considered buying one. But for my 9-year-old son, not once did I ever consider buying one for myself. And I don't consider myself a watch prude. I've got some playful pieces. I've got the Seiko Arnie, I've got the Casio Royale. I even bought a watch on TikTok for 14 bucks as a total goof. Pay attention to the colors of the Worn & Wound watches or their collaborations with other brands. They use a lot of turquoise, teal, sky blue, and dare I say baby blue. It's a real theme. Looking at some of the photos of the Adapt watches, you'll see the combination of colors, the decisions to mix and match some colors, just absolutely insane. Let's look at a couple. Here's one. Turquoise, maroon, baby blue, yellow, and sea green highlights. Pretty unbelievable. Here's another watch. Army green, blue, and then pink highlights. Furthermore, let's take a look at the background of some of these photo shoots. The items that accompany the Adapt watches are fascinating. Here's the Berry Adapt watch with the weirdest Leatherman I've ever seen. It's like a Leatherman that would come with a Lego set. The blue Adapt with the Wild Watch pouch. The green one even has a kid's squishy toy in the background. The Adapt watches run $450 to $500. With the almost unjustifiable combination of colors and the juvenile props in the background, it's fair to ask, just who are these watches made for? At this point, I want to take a look at Worn & Wound's collaborations with 6 brands. Zodiac, Vero, Timex, BOLDR, and Nivada Grenchen. And I will argue in all but one that Worn & Wound has infantilized the prevailing aesthetic of the brands they're working with. The first Worn & Wound collaboration I want to discuss is the one with Zodiac. Over the last couple of years, Zodiac has not been afraid to play with some color. I would best describe their efforts as summer watch fun. Bright bezels, dials, and straps. However, the Worn & Wound collaboration was quite the departure. When seeing it online, I couldn't believe it. It looked like it was inspired by the prevailing neon colors of the late 80s, early 90s, what you might find in a pizza shop or something like that. The purples, the greens, the fuchsia, and of course, turquoise. In fact, the launch party for the watch was a laser tag party. But seeing it in person took my disbelief to another level. The colors, the strap went beyond playful. They looked ridiculous. Someone decided it would be best to evoke childhood emotions. It's beyond juvenile. Sometimes I wonder about the impulses created by the words limited edition. It creates a fear of missing out. And I can't help but wonder how many people who bought this limited edition now have buyer's remorse. Next, let's take a look at the Timex collaboration. The Timex X World & Wound 75 limited edition. Timex does play with color and often features cartoon characters. The most prevalent feature of the Worn & Wound collaboration is the use of color. One version liberally uses turquoise or teal, and the other somewhat sparingly. It's a continuation of the bright blue theme that we've already been discussing. And it's an interesting thread because it's not as if the use of turquoise, teal, sky blue, baby blue is the hottest fashion trend today. It's another throwback to the 80s and 90s, unless you're going for a Miami vibe. Okay, let's take a look at the Nivada Grenchen collaboration. When I think of Nivada Grenchen, I think of the Chronometer Aviator Sea Diver, a tough, rugged, yet handsome watch with black bezels, usually featuring a black or white dial with muted subdials and limited bright color accents. But let's look at Worn & Wound's recent collaborations with Nivada. First, the Chronomaster. The obvious departure from Nivada's product line is the use of a metallic teal for the bezel. Then there's use of baby blue highlights, the 5-minute indicators, and the hands. The Datomaster applies a similar use of teal and baby blue. There is a subtle madness occurring on the dial. There are various flavors of blue, but also a muted orange in the hour subdial, a creamsicle orange on the tip of the seconds hand, both of which clash with the use of red for numbers and the word Datomaster. These combined choices take away from the Nivada Grenchen aesthetic. When I think of the BOLDR supply company, I think of extremely tough watches designed for an adventurer's lifestyle, one that would withstand a fall. This collaboration with Worn & Wound seems to combine the GMT of the Venture line and the case and dial of the Expedition line. The influence of Worn & Wound's design team couldn't be more obvious here. The use of the tropical blues continuing the theme that we've already discussed. The questionable combination of colors. And it takes the edge off of what makes a BOLDR. More suited for playing with toys and hiking. For reading where the wild things are than being in the wild. Here's the gray version. It's gray with tropical blue highlights combined with an almost forest green around the edge of the dial. Pea soup green minute indicators and the edge of two hands look like a lighter pea green. Now the yellow one. The color combination here is really wild and not in a good way. Yellow prominent here, darker yellow for part of the 24-hour GMT scale, forest green, red, darker blue rim of the dial with tropical color minute indicators. Top that off with a bright claret strap, an absolute juvenile finger paint smearing of color here. Again, who are they trying to appeal to? The fifth collaboration we're going to discuss is the one between Vero and Worn & Wound. Vero produces tough watches and backs them up with a 10-year warranty. Vero is also not afraid to play with color. However, the Vero watches that appeal to me the most are the ones that look like the Seiko Arnie, the models from the Forest Service and Workhorse lines. Here are three models that align closely with the H558 or the recently updated SNJ025, the Suf Arnie, and perhaps the Army Arnie. How would Worn & Wound approach their collaboration with Vero? If you guessed with a bucket full of tropical blue paint, you win a prize. Here it is. Tropical blue with white, yellow, and red highlights. And the sixth and final collaboration that we'll discuss is the one with Vero. Vero is a British watchmaker that is rising in popularity. Vero is unafraid of playing with color, although it seems that they no longer offer their insanely colorful Aquamatic line. The Worn & Wound collaboration is very much a departure from the ADPT Watches and the 5 other collaborations we've discussed. It's quite tame. Perhaps more tame than the tamest of fairer watches. This comes across as mostly a serious watch. Let's hear how Worn & Wound describes this watch. The Fairer X Worn & Wound limited edition is a study in restraint. Blue and gray tones come together to make a watch that is intended to be both timeless and versatile. A watch that can be dressed up or down, but always has a distinct sense of style. Dark and moody, but extremely tasteful and sophisticated. I would almost entirely agree with this. No doubt that Worn & Wound displayed a great deal of restraint for them. It's a handsome watch that would appeal to a wide range of individuals. However, they couldn't help themselves in this one particular aspect. They still had to sneak in this baby blue on the seconds dial. Is this commitment to tropical blue the linchpin to Worn & Wound's design aesthetic? I'd like to conclude by saying this. Through our review of the Adapt watches and the 6 collaborations with other brands, Worn & Wound has shown us these 3 major themes. The first, a strict commitment to the bright blues, the turquoise, the teal, tropical, sky, and baby blues. I believe the once white-hot trend of the Tiffany dial is dead, but Worn & Wound is single-handedly trying to keep it alive. The second, the incompatible color combinations, like the yellow BOLDR and the berry Adapt. It feels like the design approach is to splash a bunch of color against the wall and see what sticks, and the result isn't always pleasing. And the third, in all but one of the collaborations, it seems that Worn & Wound is set on watering down and infantilizing the brand's prevailing aesthetic. Generally speaking, the collaborations with Worn & Wound are much more juvenile than the rest of the brand's product lines. So with all of that said, it's fair to ask some questions. Are these designed for kids? Or just those who are nostalgic, who love their retro toys, who remember the good old times of their early childhood? Or am I just a curmudgeon who thinks everything stinks? And lastly, just what is the target audience for Worn & Wound's collaborations? Hey everyone, this is Ticking Gray Bomb. We hope you enjoyed this video. If so, like and subscribe, leave a comment, and if you didn't like this video, let us know why. We'll catch you in the next one.